Take a look. Yo, what's up, guys? All right, wow. 4:54. Okay, we got 6 minutes to showtime. And guys, this is gonna be our last stream for a long time, I think. I'll try to stream as much as I can when I'm in Italy, but I don't know what it's gonna look like technically, and I definitely can guarantee it's not gonna be as cool as this. So we are gonna come back to all of this when I get back from Cortina, but man, this is, yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. This is gonna be, I'm gonna miss you guys a lot. Anyway, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the behind the scenes for Stay Tuned Now. And if you wanna watch just the normal news without people talking, just straight up, you should watch it on NBC News Now. You should watch it right now. It's top stories up, then we're up, then top story, then nightly news, and Hallie Jackson. I mean, NBC News Now is the place to be. It's free news, free mainstream news. All the things you need to know. Here's this side, boom, right there. Wherever you stream, so check it out. And then this thing that we're trying out, this is the multi-view, where you get to hang out. Basically, you guys are the iPad on my desk, and I will follow along with what you guys are saying in the chat, and you guys can follow along with what's going on in the show. And it looks kind of like this. This is Lisa. Lisa is the executive producer. That is the camera back here in the studio. And we show you all the behind the scenes. So Max, we are doing great. What's coming up on tonight's show? Tonight's show, we are starting once again with immigration, and there are 15 million different things that are happening all at the same time. So we're gonna try to follow the ball as best we can. Let's see, so we just got our hands on this preliminary DHS report that went to an oversight committee in Congress that gives us a little bit more information on what happened in the shooting of Preddy in Minneapolis. We now know that there were 2 agents that fired their guns. We understand that there was body cam video that has been reviewed. We know how much time elapsed between somebody saying gun, 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 and when they shot. So we've got all of that. You know, that kid, the 5-year-old that was taken to Texas from Minnesota and then was supposed to be deported with his dad. Looks like a federal judge has stepped in, temporarily blocking that. And then we've got, let's see, somewhat of an about face from the administration, or maybe not an about face, but definitely some shuffling of the guard. So we're gonna get into what all that means. We want souvenirs. Oh, for Olympics? Okay, we will try. Kat, I watch Savannah in the morning. Guess who is gonna be my best homie out there in Cortina? Savannah Sellers, my news sister. I think we're on the same flight. It's gonna be awesome. I'm back. I was sick last night. Oh man, SML, I hope you're feeling better. Something's been going around out here too. And I hope it's over, because being sick, especially in the winter, is the worst. Let's see, probably filming the cold open right now. No cold open tonight. We're just going straight breaking news. There's too much stuff. Let's see, and gotta go around the desk. Okay, I'll try to do it later. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, I will hopefully figure out what they're doing.
2.5.
Don't we all? 2.5. Big Mike says 2.5.
And our A1 is a monster.
See.
You've looked at it. You're good to go there.
Hi, Hunter. How are you? Okay, so let me just recheck something real fast. Hey, Lisa, let me put you on my ear. Sorry, I took my IFB out. Do you, did you take a look at the C that I just finished up?
Yes.
Okay, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Lise, anything before we start here that we're missing?
No.
Are you so excited that we're going dark for a little while?
No, really, actually not. I'm like used to this now. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, this stream is like one of the best parts of our day.
For those of you who were here Friday, Ben thoroughly enjoyed it. Was telling everybody about it, how much he liked it. Having your kids interested
and
in
we
what
get
you
good
do.
story ideas from here too.
Yes.
Yeah, we get a lot of good story ideas. So hopefully we can get on. I mean, look, right now it's just TikTok and it's just YouTube, but we're hoping to go elsewhere too. We're hoping to go. I mean, fingers crossed we can do Twitch, Kick, maybe. I don't know. You know, that might be a bad idea. Might be a good idea. Who knows? But it's really cool that you guys are watching on YouTube and TikTok. And I don't think you guys can see each other's comments. So sometimes if you see me addressing something that you're like, what is he talking about? That's probably on the other platform. 1 minute to G. So we're starting way back here. We've got those three or four beats right at the top. And am I walking back to the desk for the toss to Gabe?
Right into the preset.
Okay, perfect. All right. He started singing "This Is Up." Super kid. That makes me okay. See, that's what we need going into the news. Yes, maybe things will be okay. All right, let's do it. I'm gonna mute you, Lise. 20 seconds. Oh, okay, got it. 20 seconds. Have a good show, everybody. Have a good show, Lisa. Have a good show, Sean. Have a good show, Mike. Have a good show, Ryan.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Stand by it.
Tonight, a whole lot of breaking news on the immigration front. A federal judge temporarily blocking the deportation of the 5-year-old boy and his father. There's another Border Patrol shooting in Arizona, all while outrage continues in Minneapolis, with DHS just sending this preliminary report to Congress. It says 2 federal officers opened fire on VA nurse Alex Purdy. And right now, it appears that the White House may be shifting its strategy and changing the guard. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino is out and headed back to California, while the White House border czar Tom Homan is in and now on the ground in Minneapolis. As the public uproar remains at a boiling point, details are still murky about what an investigation is actually going to look like. But President Trump says he wants to be involved.
We're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Now, later in the day in Iowa, he also said this, which is a marked difference from what we heard from the president after the killing of Renee Good. Listen.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Purdy is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident. Okay? Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate.
What do you think?
Meanwhile, take a look at this new Reuters poll, which we want to point out was conducted January 23rd to January 25th. That is the days both before and after Purdy died. 58%, a majority say that ICE tactics have gone too far. Then ICE efforts are about right, 26% compared to 58%, and ICE has not gone far enough. That is at 12%. As for the shooting out in Arizona, well, investigators are now saying there was some sort of chase with the suspect who then opened fire on a Border Patrol helicopter. He was shot, he's in the hospital, and all of this happening about 10 miles north of the Mexico border. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into Arizona in just a minute, but first, let's go to NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. Gabe, let's start with this report the DHS sent to Congress about the Purdy shooting. What exactly does it say?
Yeah, that's right, Gotti. We're just getting our hands on it now. This report, preliminary report obtained by NBC News, says that this all unfolded around 9 a.m. on Saturday. That we knew, but now we're learning, according to this preliminary report, that it was not 1 but 2 of the federal agents who actually opened fire on Purdy about 5 seconds, according to the report, after one of the agents had yelled that he had a gun. So again, this is all part of the investigation that we're now learning. DHS turning this report over to Congress as we try to find out more answers to so many questions following this shooting, Gotti.
And Gabe, the investigation, the president himself has said that he wants to oversee it. What does that look like?
Well, yes, the president today said that he was promising a big investigation in his words. And this all comes, Gotti, after the president really is trying to de-escalate tensions here. He said as much. Of course, his big leadership change-up, this shake-up, rather, that the president is putting in his border czar Tom Homan and ordering out is Border Patrol Commander Bavino, who's being sent to his former job in California, according to administration officials. In terms of what this investigation would look like, look, DHS is having an investigation. The FBI will also be involved. Still a lot of questions, though, about whether any state investigation will be conducted here, and that is what many activists on the ground want to see. They don't trust any federal investigation, but again, the president is promising to conduct this full investigation, and he wants to personally oversee it.
Yeah, and Gabe, speaking of that changing of the guard, Bavino out, Homan in, here's how the president described it in his own words. Take a listen.
Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom Homan?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, they go. Look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border, and in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border.
So back to the original question there. Homan, now in Minnesota, kind of taking over the investigation, the fraud stuff, the shooting. Is this going to have a noticeable impact on any investigation?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of finger pointing going on within the administration right now. We even just heard a short time ago a rare public statement, written statement on the record from Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, who just several days ago on social media had referred to Alex Preddy as an assassin. And the president today contradicted Miller by saying he didn't think Preddy was acting as an assassin. Well, Miller today, he said that the initial statements from DHS were based on reports from Customs and Border Protection agents on the ground. Miller also suggested that the White House had sent extra personnel to Minneapolis, and according to Miller, some of that extra personnel was supposed to be used as a physical barrier in between protesters and federal agents. And according to Miller, that protocol apparently was not followed, and the White House would investigate why. DHS has not responded to that allegation, but I bring this up in terms of, you asked the question, what does an investigation look like? We don't know at this point, because right now within the administration, there seems to be a rare bit of finger pointing here, because as you know, Gotti, during this second Trump term, there really hasn't been a whole lot of interagency or interpersonal fighting within the administration at this point when it comes to a key issue in President Trump's term and really his political identity, immigration. There does seem to be a lot of disagreement and a lot of a blame game, really, about how this incident unfolded over the weekend.
Yeah, and speaking of finger pointing, as far as DHS Secretary Kristi Noem goes, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, we saw him say that he wants to impeach her if she is not removed from office. What does the president say on Noem's standing right now?
Well, look, even a couple of Republicans, including Senator Tom Tillis, he's asking for Noem to step down. According to 3 administration officials, we have confirmed that Noem and her top aide, Corey Lewandowski, had a lengthy meeting with the president that she asked for yesterday here at the White House, where she wanted to discuss all that was unfolding in Minnesota. But today, the president was directly asked, would she step down? Here's what he said.
I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget, we had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through.
So yeah, the president is saying that she would not step down. And I spoke with a senior administration official today who said, look, at this point, her job is safe. The president likes her. Got it.
NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. And let's bring in Camila Bernal, who's out for us in Minneapolis right now. Camila, what is going on behind you?
Hey, Gotti. So we are obviously at the site of the memorial. This is where Alex Preddy was shot and killed. And right now there's an Aztec ceremony going on. And just a few moments photographer to sort of scoot in and show you, because obviously this is a ceremony to honor and remember Alex Preddy. This is incredibly special for them, and many here have been coming to pay their respects, no matter what their culture is, and really wanting to show that this community is united in this pain and this anger, essentially, that they're feeling here. So a lot of the people here in Minneapolis saying that they're going to continue to honor and remember not just Alex Preddy, but Renee Go as well, Gotti.
Yeah, a lot of communities impacted there. We're also learning that there's been an update about that 5-year-old, the little boy who was detained by ICE and his dad and then taken out of state. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Gotti, I think so many of us saw that viral image, those photos of this 5-year-old. His name is Liam, and we saw him with that blue hat and the backpack. And what we now know is that a federal judge in Texas has blocked his deportation, essentially, from the country, even saying he cannot be removed from Texas, at least not for now. That's him and his father. If you remember, at the time of their detention, DHS said that the father had ran away from the child, abandoning him. The school district contradicted all of that and had said that essentially that child had been used as bait. DHS saying they were here in this country illegally, and the family attorney also disputing that and saying that this was a family that was seeking asylum. Gotti.
Yeah, and that case apparently continues. Meanwhile, whatever happened in Arizona, we're starting to finally get a few more details on that. What can you tell us about that shooting in Arizona on the border?
Yeah, so this is a very different situation, but nonetheless involving CBP, Customs and Border Protection. So we know that they were trying to apprehend someone who they believe was involved in human trafficking. They conducted a traffic stop, and when they were doing so, the person in the car tried to run away. There was a CBP manned helicopter that was also chasing, and this man opened fire towards the agents. We were told that the agents then fired back, hitting that man, and we were told that he is in serious but stable condition tonight, Gotti.
Camila Bernal out there in Minneapolis, covering all aspects across the country on immigration. Camila, thank you so much. And right now, it is dangerously cold for millions across the eastern United States. There's no sign of it ending anytime soon. The winter storm and that bitter cold has now killed at least 48 people across 14 states, some of them due to hypothermia, as officials are warning of more freezing rain, ice, and bitter wind gusts as that cold continues. Out in New York, where we saw ice taking hold of the Hudson River earlier, look at this. The mayor is saying that at least 10 people have been found dead outside. They have not released specific causes of death. And there was a tragedy in Texas where officials say 3 young boys, all under the age of 10, drowned after falling through ice on a pond. Meanwhile, power outages are hitting Tennessee the hardest, where at least 5 people have died from the storm. There are still over 140,000 people across the state right now without power. And NBC's George Solis is in Nashville, Tennessee for us tonight, where it looks like snow and ice is still everywhere.
Yeah, that's right, Gotti, and it shows no sign of going away, especially with these frigid temperatures that are expected to stick around for at least a week. Now, one thing I will note, we were expecting to see a little bit of the sun today, and it did come out. But the good news here is that because we didn't see it for very long, we didn't get a lot of that melting. So that refreeze should hopefully taper off at least for a little while. But with, again, these frigid temps sticking around, getting from point A to point B is still very difficult. And I'll show you why specifically. You have branches like these that still litter roadways and sidewalks in some places. And these are pretty tough to move right now. So people that are actually eager to clean up actually can't. Now, let's talk about the power outages here, right? That's the other big storyline that people are talking about. You still have more than 100,000 customers here in the Nashville area alone that are without power. And of course, if you have a safe place or a warm place to ride it out, it may not be so bad. But we are talking to people who are also unhoused. And for them, going to a shelter isn't always an option. We spoke with one man who says he's just really getting through thanks to a friend right now. Here's a little bit of my conversation with him. You've been through a few snowstorms.
Yes.
How does this one compare?
This one right here is the worst of the worst.
How are you staying warm?
Well, I've got plenty of covers. I've got toe warmers, insole warmers in my shoes. I've got body warmers on and hand warmers in my gloves, and I pray a lot.
Yeah, got it. We're just really grateful that gentleman has a safe place to go. Neighbors are checking on neighbors. We actually spent some time with state troopers here who are also going door to door doing welfare checks for anyone that hasn't been able to hear from their loved ones for a while. That could be for a number of reasons, including the fact that they don't have any cell service. So, I mean, it really is just an all hands on deck operation here. And again, people just hoping that they can ride this out while they get their power restored.
Yeah, and we're also seeing so many tragic reports, and now there are these kids out in Nashville that apparently are getting treated for carbon monoxide poisoning. What do we know about that?
Yeah, more than 40 since Sunday, Gotti, and some of them have had to use oxygen. And so this is what officials warn, right? When you talk about trying to stay warm using things like those space heaters or anything that gives off gas, when you have a gas stove and you're using that to stay warm in your home, officials really stress that people should not do that for this exact reason. So we're actually looking into a little bit more of those numbers here, because obviously it is very alarming to hear that is happening. And this is part of those welfare checks that are going on too, right? Making sure that those people that maybe don't have a generator or a way to stay warm are doing it safely, because obviously when you have temperatures that linger this long, people start to get desperate. And the last thing you want is to make a bad situation even worse, Scotty.
Yeah, and I mean, some of these tragic deaths, times like these, there are so many different ways that you can die, and yet we forget about a lot of the very normal ones that you wouldn't think about, like branches above your head with so much ice. And I'm stressed out with you standing right there. But walk us through what people need to be careful with when it comes to weather like this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Luckily, you know, the branches here aren't as frozen, but it's so funny that you mentioned that, because we spoke to a gentleman who, you know, everyone thinks that when everything gets, you know, it starts to thaw or freeze a little bit, that maybe it's going to be holding a little bit solid. But this is very unpredictable. It was about midday. He was, you know, considering going out in his yard to maybe do some cleanup here, some of these branches, and he was just standing there when he says the tree essentially just exploded. It sounded like it exploded, and it fell in his yard. I mean, he's thankful that he wasn't out there, but these are just the things to be mindful of, right? These trees are still very much frozen. These temperatures are still very much dipping, and of course, again, as we just mentioned, you definitely want to make sure that whatever heating source you're using it wisely. And if you, at last resort, if you have nowhere else to go, the city has a very high number of warming centers that you can go to for a while. The other big question here, Gotti, is how soon businesses that have been closed here will be able to open back up as temperatures start to rebound a little bit. But of course, again, a lot of people still not confident to get to work with some of the roads being as treacherous as they are, Gotti.
Yeah, hoping everybody out there is very careful. George Solis, thank you so very much. And this winter storm isn't the last of it. A new burst of Arctic air is on its way, which means more record low temperatures, chilly winds, and yeah, maybe even more snow this weekend. NBC's Bill Cairns has more on what's to come. Hey there, Bill.
Gotti, the relentless cold is not going to give up anytime soon, and we still have that threat, at least, of an East Coast storm as we go through the weekend. So first things first, the areas of greatest concern with the cold tonight into tomorrow morning is right along Interstate 70, Indianapolis here towards Columbus. Cold advisories in effect around areas like Washington, D.C., and that's mostly for the wind chill. It's going to be pretty brutal as we go throughout tomorrow. Already the wind chill, even at this hour, -3, -4, 10, it's actually going to get worse in the next 24 hours. We had a little bit of moderation today and a little bit of melting in areas that desperately needed it. We're talking northern Mississippi to Nashville, the areas that still have all the power outages. And they will continue to be warm until Friday. Then on Friday, we watch the freezer opening back up from Canada. All of these blue dots show you potential record lows Friday, Saturday, Sunday, through the south, through Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic. But look at this, all the record lows possible, even in Florida. By Florida standards, this is going to be the coldest in years. I mean, all the way down to Miami, we're going to be talking cold. So Miami is expected, Saturday morning, 57 degrees, typical Miami. Then the cold front goes through. Sunday morning could be 36 degrees. It's incredibly rare for Miami to get this cold. The freeze line could be all the way down to West Palm Beach, Lake Okeechobee areas. So yes, they'll be flying iguanas, falling iguanas all over the place because they get, their muscles and everything else freeze up and they just fall out of the trees. So you'll see that this weekend. But we also have to start to worry about the citrus crops, which are pretty much right around Lake Okeechobee southwards. And at the same time, all that cold air is going to help trigger a storm. So our European computer model is a little more off the coast. It still looks like we're going to get some snow in the Carolinas. That's a story, even if it's only a couple inches. Areas like Charleston, Myrtle Beach, doesn't happen all that often. Eastern North Carolina, the Outer Banks. That would be as we go through late Saturday into early Sunday morning. But then, at least the trend is more off the coast, maybe some snow in areas of Cape Cod, but missing a lot of the East Coast. So that would be the most ideal scenario for so many people that are still recovering from the last storm. This is our potential snowfall. Notice we don't have any heavy areas. Moderate, Eastern North Carolina, possibly out here on the islands, and then just light amounts of snow in areas of the Carolinas. But, the European model is typically the most accurate. Our American model is closer to the coast and not just has snow, but even has heavy snow all through Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, Delaware, the Jersey Shore, out here towards Cape Cod and eastern portions of New England, including the Boston area, who, by the way, just had 23 inches of snow. So there's still a lot to be decided and figured out in the next couple of days. We're all hoping, Gotti, that we don't have to deal with this one, especially on the heels of this big historic one.
Yeah, let's hope that Euro model is the right one. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. And we are seeing new video tonight of the arrests in the Indiana shooting of a judge and his wife. 3 people are now in custody in what's being described as a targeted attack. NBC's Shaquille Brewster has more.
Hi there, Gotti. Well, this was the first time that we heard from local law enforcement leaders about this investigation into the shooting of the judge and his wife. They released body camera video, drone video of the arrest of 5 of the suspects that investigators say weren't involved in that shooting. And you heard the leaders highlight the coordination that was required to conduct those arrests so quickly after the shooting, that there were local law enforcement, county, federal law enforcement, all involved in what they described as a massive operation, as they showed some of those crucial moments in which those suspects eventually surrendered with the big show of force that you saw and that you see in that video. And they also talked about the impact that this shooting had on this city, on this area. I want you to listen to a little bit more of what we heard from local leaders today.
This attack was more than an assault on 2 citizens. To me, and every law enforcement leader on the stage and the people they serve, this was an assault on the rule of law itself. By targeting members of the judiciary, these individuals didn't just attack a person, they attempted to strike the very foundation of our justice system and the safety of our entire community.
And they went on to say that this was an attack that wasn't successful and that the rule of law essentially prevailed. Now, we did not learn any new information on the investigation, though we learned a lot from court documents last week. And that's when we know that they say that one of the suspects, Thomas Moss, investigators say, is a high-ranking member of the Phantom Motorcycle Club, saying that he told this and acknowledged a connection in conversations with investigators. And those court documents accuse him of plotting to kill the judge after an effort to obstruct failed. We know that according to those court documents, Moss was scheduled to appear before that judge about 2 days after that shooting took place. Of course, that hearing never happened. And we also know that the alleged shooter, Raylan Ferguson, 38 years old, according to investigators, knocked on the home of the judge's, or I should say knocked on the door of the judge's home on January 18th. The judge and his wife came down, said that they did not need what this person was offering, and that's when those shots were fired. But investigators recovering what they described as a white mask, also able to trace and obtain the weapon, a sawed-off shotgun that they say was used in this attack. Now, we expect to see several of the suspects in court tomorrow for a preliminary hearing. But again, investigators today, political leaders, not highlighting or not expounding on what we learned in terms of the investigation. They simply were making the point that this was an attack, in their words, on the rule of law, and that it was one that they say was unsuccessful. Gotti?
Jack Brewster, thank you so much. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, dramatic video of the moment an elephant gets too close for comfort during a safari ride. More on what happened there. Plus, why Anthropic's CEO is warning about the dangers of AI that he says could test who we are as a species. That's later this hour, so stay tuned. 90 seconds. Okay, we got some breaking news, I think. Let's see. Hey, Lisa,
can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, what's the latest?
All right, so the word right
Minnesota?
now is we're just getting breaking news that a man was tackled to the ground after spraying an unknown substance on Congresswoman Ilhan Omar at a town hall in Minneapolis. Our cameras were in the room at the time, so that we have video of it. We are working on a reader coming up out of probably trying to get it in this next block.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking of killing break 2 and going straight from this to safe wrap. You want to do that?
I think we need a little bit of a break. 45. No, we could do that. Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, it works. It's in the same vein.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yep. 30. Okay. Yeah, that video. So the video is it the video of the side shot, the profile of her, and then you see the guy getting tackled on the foreground, or?
20.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
10.
All right, I'll follow your lead.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines we are watching tonight. The families of 2 men killed in a U.S. boat strike in the Caribbean are suing the Trump administration. Now, this is the first of its kind to be filed against the administration. The lawsuit claims the boat struck on October 14th was traveling from Venezuela to Trinidad with fishermen and farm workers. The administration says those men were part of a drug trafficking operation. The Pentagon says it does not comment on ongoing litigation. And the federal sex trafficking trial of the trio known as the Alexander brothers has started in New York. The 3 brothers are accused of luring, drugging, and sexually assaulting women over the course of a decade. The defense says the sexual encounters were consensual and not criminal. And there was a major landslide in Sicily that left dozens of buildings literally hanging on the edge. Italian officials say about 1,500 people have been forced to leave their homes, and they expect that number to keep going up. Look at those buildings. Officials say the landslide was triggered by a cyclone. Wow. And a NASA plane made this fiery gear-up landing at Ellington Airfield in Houston earlier today following some sort of mechanical issue. The aircraft is a high-altitude research plane operated by NASA's Johnson Space Center. According to NASA, all crew members were reported safe, but no word on why the landing gear failed. And a family on safari in Sri Lanka offered an elephant some food, and it is safe to say that not-so-gentle giant might have been hungrier than they thought. The elephant ripped the door off the van the family was in. They were able to make an escape through the door on the other side while the elephant was distracted, and luckily no one was hurt. That big guy, he wandered off as soon as some other tourists pulled up. And we are seeing new NTSB video and animation of that deadly midair crash last year in Washington, D.C. Investigators now say several failures led to that horrific crash and warn of a culture of complacency that could lead to the next crash at another airport. NBC's Tom Costello has this one tonight.
Tonight, newly released NTSB video capturing the midair crash at Reagan National Airport 1 year ago this Thursday. An Army helicopter crashing into an American Airlines regional jet. All 67 people died. With family members in the room, NTSB investigators today identified a long list of contributing factors for the crash.
There is no singular person to blame for this. These were systemic issues across multiple organizations.
New NTSB animation shows what air traffic controllers saw that night. The view from the plane's cockpit as the chopper suddenly appears at the last second, and the chopper view as it crashed into the passenger plane. Investigators determined the chopper was flying 100 feet too high, relying on altimeters that the Army knew were inaccurate. The chopper also flying with its ADS-B precise location transmitter turned off. And despite 15,000 helicopter and plane incidents since 2021 at DCA, the FAA had ignored controller warnings that planes and choppers were sometimes just 75 feet apart.
We should be angry because for years no one listened. This was preventable.
The FAA has since restricted chopper flights around Reagan and says it's evaluating other potential hotspots nationwide. Kristen Miller-Zahn lost her brother Dustin in the crash.
I hope to see that nobody else has to go through what all our families have gone through, because it's an unbearable tragedy every single day.
One more aviation note at this hour, and that is, you may recall the UPS plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky in November. Well, now UPS says it has fully retired its MD-11 fleet. That's the cargo plane involved in that crash that killed 22 people in Louisville. That specific plane was more than 34 years old. It's the derivative of the old DC-10, and as you know, a version of that crashed in Chicago in 1979. FedEx also flies the MD-11, and it says it's working with Boeing and the FAA now to safely return that plane to service for FedEx. Scotty?
Tom Costello, thank you so much. And more breaking news out of Minnesota tonight. Minneapolis, this video seems to show that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was attacked by some sort of substance while speaking at a town hall just a few moments ago. Take a look at this. It shows a man that jumped up from the first row while he was speaking. Watch. That jumped up from the first row while he was speaking. Watch.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face.
You see the Congresswoman walk back to the podium there. That man jumped up from the first row. He appeared to spray something at her. Then he ran off. The man was then taken down by security and was carried out of the room. Omar insisted on continuing with the town hall and said, quote, "These F&I holes are not going to get away with this." NBC News has reached out to Capitol Police for comments. NBC News has reached out to as you've seen, there has been a lot of controversy and debate when it comes to the waves. We've seen federal officers taking people into custody and use of force in general. And while we have spent a lot of time examining the reasons and the context and whether policies are being followed, tonight we also want to talk about this new technique that some local police are using that focuses on de-escalation and safety for both the officers and the suspects. And it's based on safety for both. Take a look at this. The officers and the suspects, and it's based on.
In the wake of the shooting of Alex Preddy and the scores of other videos showing federal agents using force to take people into custody, the controversy over the use of force during arrests has reignited. Chokeholds, restraints, and the use of chemical agents now once again under intense scrutiny.
This is more about tragically terrorizing people than it is about safety.
We will not allow violence against our law enforcement officers.
And while the debate rages on at the federal level, police in some smaller local departments like Bellevue, Washington, have been trying something new when having to arrest a resisting suspect aimed at de-escalation and protecting a suspect's airway.
Well, we got him in a safe wrap.
Safe wrap is really a new way, a new technique to bring someone safely into custody, if you will, without harming them or harming the officer. And that's what our community expects, right?
It's a technique that's hard to make out from a body cam.
Is that normal, yes or no?
So we went to the place where Safe Wrap was invented to see exactly how it works. This is the Gracie University of Jiu-Jitsu in Southern California. Hinner and his brother Hidon are the grandsons of the godfather of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Helio Gracie, who brought the sport to the United States. Their father, Rorion, was a founder of the UFC. But Hinner says Safe Wrap is a far cry from the chokes and arm bars that Jiu-Jitsu is known for, and was created when a hospital in California asked him to come up with a way to restrain patients having a violent episode without hurting them or putting pressure on their chest and diaphragm.
It's usually a dog pile of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clinicians plus security guards. Everyone's pulling on limbs. The patient is at serious risk of injury.
But there's really only one way to feel the difference between safe rap and the status quo. So Hinner brought me to a class of officers, and they showed me the old-fashioned way. As soon as we went to the ground, I resisted by pulling my arms in and keeping them there. More and more officers joined the pile, and eventually 5 officers were able to get my hands behind my back, but it got intense.
You guys, his arms. Ouch. When you guys had me down, I felt there was so much force that I felt like if I was going to give you my arms, they were going to snap off.
Next, just Hinner and his brother tried safe rap. The Gracies say putting a subject on their side lets officers monitor their face for medical emergencies, allows unrestricted breathing, and reduces the risk of asphyxia.
Roll, stand up.
It also gives the officers 2 free hands between them to handcuff a suspect while taking away any advantage the subject might have.
When you take a person who does not want to be restrained and you put them down on their stomach, you actually give them 3 distinct tactical advantages. Number 1 is they can push off the ground. Number 2 is they can hide their hands under their stomach because they're buried on the prone position. And number 3, if they have a weapon, they can reach it in their waistband and they can use the weapon because you can't see their hands or their waistband in prone restraint.
So getting somebody on their stomach gives them a better fighting chance?
Yes, it's actually putting someone on their stomach gives them the greatest chance of getting back to their feet.
On our side here.
Bellevue Police Department in Washington was one of our early adopting agencies. They had their first safe rap application by an officer who had no fighting experience, had no martial arts practice experience in his whole life, and this was his actual very first use of force.
Safe rap.
Legs are crossed. There's no rush because he can't go anywhere. No one's in a panic. We're good until we get support.
So far, Hinner says hundreds of agencies have licensed a system which requires mandatory refresher training every year.
Since departments are notoriously resistant to giving more training time for the basic skills that every officer should have to protect themselves and to protect civilians, it's like we're taking it upon ourselves to say, no, it's not good enough. The minimum 2, 3, 4 hours a year, we don't accept that. If you guys want the benefits Safe Rap offers, this proprietary system, then we need you to invest in your officers, invest in your firefighters, invest in your paramedics.
How do you respond to those that might see this and say, firefighters, EMTs, they shouldn't be learning how to fight?
The reality is this, today, they're already facing record high levels of violence in their everyday jobs. They show up in an ambulance, they get a patient, they put them in the back of the ambulance, they're in a locked metal box that is moving. The patient will sit up, often unbuckle, and now attack the paramedic in the back of the vehicle. What CPR is to emergency first aid, Safe Rap is to emergency restraint.
And so far, Bellevue police say that they have used Safe Rap 18 times, and they say there have been no injuries to officers or civilians. And still to come, we love digging into the latest health trends, and right now, magnesium, it seems to be having quite the moment. Dr. Akshay Sayal is going to break down those benefits coming up next. Okay, whew. All right. Wow. What did you guys think? What position do you put the perpetrator? You're trying to take a... That's a very good question, Jesse. I will not accept violence and hatred to be the answer. Squirrel hugger? Very interesting. Let's see. Oh, my God, when did you go to that? That was actually last year. And we've been, been working on it. It just seems like a really interesting time right now to revisit it. But yeah, if you start to see, it's interesting because it's not at all what the federal agencies are doing, but you've got Bellevue saying that it is working. Let's see. And I'm telling you, when they did it, they put you this way, then your legs are going in a different direction, and it doesn't hurt at all. Like when those 4 officers were on me, that hurt bad. But the Safe Rap thing didn't hurt. It just got frustrated because you're frustrating because you realize that you're only fighting against yourself to try to get out, so you give up pretty easily. But yeah, something interesting to watch for. And they're using this in hospitals around California, and yeah, it's interesting time to be. Yeah, BJJ is great for law enforcement. Yeah, so most of those law enforcement officers that were there, they all train jiu-jitsu, and a lot of them were defensive tactics trainers, so they had a little extra, little extra oomph in their takedown. We'll chat about it in just a bit. Hold on real fast. Can you hit that main on me?
The what?
Main, that button main. The one that says main, yeah. All right.
5, 4, 3.
And tonight on The Future of Everything, we are probably all guilty of it, not putting our phones down, that endless scrolling on our favorite algorithms and apps. Some people even describe it as an addiction. And now, for the first time here in the United States, there's this jury that is about to decide whether that so-called addiction is something social media companies can be held legally liable and responsible for, specifically when it comes to young people. At some point during this trial, it is expected jurors will hear directly from Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. And here's what Zuckerberg said under oath before Congress 2 years ago about the effects of social media on mental health. Watch.
With so much of our lives spent on mobile devices and social media, it's important to look into the effects on teen mental health and well-being. I take this very seriously. Mental health is a complex issue, and the existing body of scientific work has not shown a causal link between using social media and young people having worse mental health outcomes.
Again, that was way back in January of 2024, not in front of a jury, not being cross-examined. A Meta spokesperson said in a statement yesterday that the company disagrees with the allegations outlined in the upcoming lawsuit and that it's, quote, confident the evidence will show our longstanding commitment to supporting young people. NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris is joining us on this one. Misty, great to see you. We learned earlier that TikTok, they agreed to settle before trial, and like right before trial. How could that affect this trial moving forward against now Meta and YouTube? Because again, Snapchat settled before this as well, right?
Yeah, so Gotti, right on the courthouse steps, as we say, as they're walking into the trial, we see this settlement likely strategic. Remember, these cases that are going to trial right now, this is the first of many, many cases that are waiting in the wings. It's called a bellwether case, and in the law, that means it's almost a test case that we'll see how all of this other litigation plays out. So TikTok and Snapchat actually making the decision to settle. Those will be confidential terms, and there won't be any indication of wrongdoing. The settlement agreements will say that there's no admission of doing anything wrong. So keeping whether or not they will have liability for another day while the other two companies go to trial. And Gotti, this will be of serious consequence because this is the first time that we see these social media applications being treated more like products as opposed to the way that they've been really shielded from liability in the past. So this case is really going to dictate how a lot more litigation plays out.
Yeah, and speaking of shielding, I mean, the big shield on their backs for the longest time was Section 230, right, of the Communications Act. Anytime these companies are sued, Section 230 comes up. And the thought was it protected companies from being held liable. But what kind of precedent is this going to set, regardless of however this case moves forward?
So 230 provides substantial protections for social media platforms because what it says is that they cannot be held civilly liable for the content that third parties post. So this case is actually already setting precedent because the social media companies tried to get these cases thrown out before they ever made it to a jury on the basis of 230. But what was determined by the judge is that there's a question of causation. So was the mental health harm that's being alleged caused by the business model, the algorithm, the addictive nature of the app, or is it caused by the content? If it's caused by the content, 230 applies. But if it's caused by the actual business model, then we have an opening for liability against these companies.
Oh, wow. So when we're talking about the algorithm versus the content, yes, your son or your daughter was seeing a lot of content that was generated by people, and that would be shielded by 230, but the algorithm that decided to put that in front of people, that's what's at the core here, right? I mean, does it matter that the jurors are probably going to be... Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, no, Gotti, you make an excellent point. What the allegation is that intentionally the companies have made the apps very, very addicting, and that is actually what causes the harm. And to your point, in jury selection, what we're going to hear is a lot of probing into social media use, whether children use it, whether or not there are parental controls that are being used, knowledge about the case. So there's going to be a lot of probes in social media because, listen, nobody can escape it. It permeates our life in every single way, no matter who you are. So seating a jury will be an interesting process.
Yeah, for the longest time, I mean, engagement and the algorithms and how people were kept on the app has been kind of this dark art that people don't know. We'll see what happens in Discovery on this one. Misty Maris, thank you so much. Also tonight, as we report almost every night, AI is growing faster than we can predict, with the upsides unknown and the risks very, very real. One of the biggest AI CEOs, the CEO of Anthropic, is calling this moment the adolescence of technology. Here's why.
We're starting to get these immense powers with AI. But, you know, our kind of institutions, our maturity as human beings and as a society, you know, my question is, you know, have we really caught up? You know, it's a bit like a kind of teenager where you have all these new, you know, powers and abilities, mental and physical, but you haven't necessarily adapted to them yet. Our view into the future is very cloudy. We're not sure what will, you know, we're not sure how many of the benefits will materialize. We're not sure how many of the risks will materialize. But because we're going at it so fast, I think there's value in writing up a document that doesn't say we're doomed, all these 5 terrible things are going to happen, but these are some possibilities. The idea that AI models might have motivations that, you know, that we don't trust, that aren't aligned with humanity. We do everything we can when we make them to make that not true. Anthropic has done a bunch of stuff, you know, to make the models more reliable, more steerable, more stable. But there's something about the way we make AI models. It's less like programming a computer. It's more like growing a plant or an animal.
Yo, can you hear me? And joining us now is futurist Sinead Bovell, host of the I've Got Questions podcast. And thank goodness you've got questions, Sinead. We love listening to your podcast. But I do want to get your reaction to what we just hear. I take your take on this is one I trust above almost all else. What are you reading between the lines?
Great. So there are a few things that are happening between the lines. I think one thing we do have to keep in context is that these companies do have to raise a lot of money. So some parts of this, not everything that's said, and not that the report is disingenuous, but there are some parts that could be more publicity, a little bit more to do with marketing, because they have billions of dollars that they need to raise. That aside, some of the concerns are very real, and Dario's point that the institutions haven't really modernized. Is our society ready for some of the changes AI is inevitably going to bring to the workforce? AI in the wrong hands of bad actors, we still don't really have a plan for that. So that much is very true, and I'm glad that he's calling alarm to that.
Amadei also drove into like the whole issue of misalignment. He wrote about one lab experiment where Claude was told it was going to be shut down, and this is something that we've heard elsewhere too. And then sometimes it would blackmail fictional employees in control of the shutdown button, trying to manipulate humans. Here's how he described that.
These aren't things that are happening in the wild. This is a little bit like, you're testing a car and you put it in a crash dummy and drive it over an icy bridge or something. But the fact that things can go wrong in these extreme conditions, it's a warning sign that if we don't address these issues, things could go wrong in less extreme conditions.
And Sinead, like a big premise of all of this is that this is going to test us as a species, right? But when we're talking about testing us as a species, there's the collective society of all of us, and then there's us as the individual, and those are two very different things. Do you think that we have what it takes to figure this out before all of a sudden, Claude or any of these AI models are capable of outthinking and outsmarting humans?
I think we have time. I mean, and it depends on who you're engaging with, right? Because some of the AI leaders at other labs feel differently about the pace that AI is moving, right? If Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google's DeepMind, just in Davos last week said he thinks maybe a couple more years AI could cross some thresholds, but definitely not next year or the year after. Do we have what it takes? Historically, we have moved through really difficult times and really powerful technologies. Do we do it in time? I think we can look at social media and say, that a lot of that was a train wreck and we still haven't really figured it out, and look at the implications for democracy. AI is moving faster, right? We have a lot faster adoption rates and we still don't really have a plan. And we've seen on an individual level some really concerning cases of psychosis and people getting addicted. What does that look like at a macro level? So I think we do theoretically have what it takes. But are we prioritizing that really and truly amongst institutions? And the answer is not to the extent we probably should be.
Yeah, the answer is also it is very, very slow process for us. I mean, we are just barely scratching the surface with what we're now seeing with this lawsuit and whether or not, the AI version 1.0, social media is addicting. So we'll see how all that plays out. Sinead Bovell, we will be listening to your podcast right after this. Thank you so much. And now to a new social media health trend that is blowing up online, magnesium.
This is magnesium glycinate, which is the newest viral health trend that's supposed to drastically improve your sleep and energy.
Someone cooked here.
Now, magnesium is a lot more important than I realized. Apparently, it's involved in something like 300 metabolic reactions, including blood pressure, regulation, muscle contraction, even energy production. But what is the best way to go about getting enough? Let's bring in NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Syal to talk a little bit more about this magnesium craze. Doctor, so good to see you. I love that we have questions, and then you just come, and then you just shoot us straight. What is the benefit of magnesium, and is this in your stack?
So I do take magnesium. My whole family, frankly, takes magnesium, and a lot of my patients come in, and they're all on magnesium. And I know a lot of friends and family who are on this. I've seen a lot of the TikTok trends. Do you take it?
Yeah, I do take it. I don't know which one. I was starting to realize that there are many different
forms, which we'll get to. And do you mind if I ask why you started it?
Because somebody said it would make me sleep better.
Yeah. So that's one of the big reasons people take it is actually improve sleep and sort of relaxation. Another reason is muscle cramps we tend to hear a lot. And then the big one is headaches. My dad's a neurologist. He recommends magnesium to his patients all the time. It actually there is some data out there that shows it can help with headaches. But with a lot of these supplements, Scotty, the sort of issue we have every time we talk about supplements is that they're not really that well studied in terms of big randomized controlled trials. You start magnesium, you will for sure see this benefit. But in this case, it is a natural element. It is something that for most healthy people is safe. If you have a kidney disease or you're a little bit older, you want to talk to your doctor. But really no harm in trying for a lot of people.
You say it's a natural element. I, as a kid that loved fireworks, know that magnesium is in fireworks. But what foods can you get magnesium from?
Yeah, so spinach is a big one. Whole grains, other leafy greens, and nuts, walnuts, and other sorts of sort of tree nuts can provide that. But half of all Americans aren't getting enough magnesium. So we say, try a supplement. And there's magnesium glycinate, there's magnesium citrate, there's magnesium oxide, there's magnesium threonate. So a lot of different forms. I think for most people, the one I tend to recommend the most is magnesium glycinate. It tends to be the most sort of well tolerated in the stomach. A lot of those other forms can sort of act like laxatives and clear out, give you a little colon cleanse, which not ideal for most people.
That is a lot. I mean, I feel like this is the part of Forrest Gump when he's like magnesium for shrimp salad, shrimp stew.
And you see that second one on there, magnesium L-threonate on the right side. That one's a little bit more expensive, but it does tend to cross the blood-brain barrier and has a little bit more benefits, potentially in terms of cognition and memory, but something that we're still, actively studying.
Now, once I started down this rabbit hole, all of a sudden I started seeing these things. It was saying magnesium activates this other thing, or you take it with this and it increases the benefits from this other vitamin. Is there any truth to that?
There is some small evidence that taking magnesium with vitamin vitamin B6 can actually sort of work synergistically. We are hearing a lot of reports about people taking too much B6 for other reasons, so that's why I tend not to recommend both on top of each other, just because we know that B6 can become toxic. And also vitamin D. You know, magnesium levels, having high magnesium levels are sort of essential to getting the most out of your vitamin D. And for everyone asking, there is a blood test out there that measures your magnesium. It just doesn't really tell you a good sense of the body's actual magnesium reserve. So for most healthy people, you can sort of calculate how much magnesium you're getting. About 300 to 400 milligrams is what you want. If you're not getting that, it's okay to start a supplement as long as you don't have any other chronic condition.
I'm going to try to keep track of all that, but magnesium with the G, glycinate.
Magnesium glycinate, correct,
okay.
with a G.
Dr. Akshay, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.
And coming up, NBC's Kate Snow is officially launching a podcast. She is a podcaster now. We are catching up with her on the launch of The Drink with Kate Snow, one of our favorite things to watch. But first, you got to see this. Big Bear's most famous bald eagle couple. You remember them, Jackie and Shadow? Well, they may be at it again after laying their first egg last Friday. They didn't do it with Claude ChatGPT. Remember those eagles? Yeah, they delivered a second egg yesterday. They gave fans watching on the 24/7 Nest Cam an extra dose of excitement. Some eagle experts are saying that a third egg maybe is on its way. We will get you that video soon. We'll be right back.
All right, Claire, 3 minutes.
Cool.
Dude,
thank you.
You're the best.
Great.
Thank you so much. Okay. This is awesome. We'll see you, bro. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Akshay, he's the best. Yeah, I forgot to turn on that thingy. Do people listen to get help? Eagles are back. Yes, those eagles are so, I mean, they are just reproducing, right? 4 Taco Bell items with no stomach issues. I would not like to try that. Take advice with a grain of salt. I wonder if magnesium is in salt. Let's see. What else did I miss? Tina, hi Tina. It's a little bit older. Wait, hold on. Let me back up. What are you guys saying? Dun, 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 dun. Environmentally horrendous. Millennials rock. I agree with that. Sound feedback on the stream. Oh no, am I mute on? Nope. Let's see. Why take magnesium if you can get it from foods? Good question. But I guess the other question is, are you eating the right foods? Let's see. Back to back, Destiny 2 and Watch It. Gotti. What car do I drive? I have a Jeep.
15.
And we're going to Kate Snow next. I'm really excited about this. So here we go. Seahawks.
5, 4, 3.
And finally tonight, NBC's own Kate Snow has launched a new podcast. It is titled The Drink, and this is such a long time coming because Kate has been hosting The Drink for over 8 years now. We all love watching it. She has interviewed over 60 celebrities, including Olympic medal winners, Oscar winners, so much more. So who did Kate choose for her first podcast episode? That would be life coach Mel Robbins, who's made it big with the let them theory, right? Kate Snow, she joins us now to talk a little bit more about The Drink. Kate, so good to see you. Okay, this one, again, like this is one of those, yes, finally the universe has delivered. What finally pushed you into podcasting this? Because every single conversation you have, I mean, like you could listen to it with your eyes closed, with your eyes open. They're amazing.
Well, exactly, and that's kind of the thought process that we had was when we started this thing. I mean, Gotti, you know, it was sort of like one of these side hustles, right? I was like, let's do this thing where because I was doing a lot of heavy news at the time, and I was like, how about I do this fun thing where I sit down with people, and it's always about how they got to where they are over a drink of their choice. And we did these videos, and you know, TV, you don't have time to put all of it on television. So at a certain point, like last year, I was like, why are we not just running the whole, like putting out the whole conversation? And we started experimenting with, you know, actually having an audio engineer go through and make it sound really pretty and great. And it becomes, as I'm sure you know, Gotti, like podcasts are more intimate. They feel different when you're listening to them. And I think that's what we've done.
Yeah, it's so funny to hear you say, yeah, side hustles when, like, you have like three, I mean, for those that don't know, you were a very talented musician too. That's a whole other story. So we'll get to that some other time. But
That's
this
a whole other
first
thing.
episode, it features the one and only Mel Robbins. What stood out to you about the conversation with her?
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows her, right? I mean, she's pretty famous now. She's got this podcast. She is, as you said, like a life guru. She writes all these books, the bestseller, Let Them Theory. The thing I wanted to know, though, was how she became Mel Robbins, right? Like, where did it start? Kid, childhood, all of it. And then I actually had met her, Gotti, in 2009. This is weird, but I was with a different TV network, and I went to her house to do a story, not about Mel Robbins, about her husband. And he was like opening a pizza restaurant. Anyway, long story short, I thought her life was beautiful at that time. It turns out it wasn't actually all that great in that moment. So we had this really open conversation about one of the worst parts of her life was then. They were almost bankrupt. So that's part of it. Another part, we talked about like changes, things that are pivot points in your life. And I want to play you a little sound of one of the pivot points for her earlier on was when she met a life coach. Take a listen.
You go to see a life coach, is that right?
Yes, yes.
And she says what?
She looks at me and says, I actually think you should learn how to be a coach, and I will teach you. The truth is we're all interested in ourselves. We want to be happier. We want to thrive. We want to have better relationships. We want to do work that's meaningful. We all share that universally. I think I have this ability to really spot the needle in the haystack. To see the thing that is the through line that most of us are missing.
Yeah, she does have that ability, Gotti, to just see the thread, right? And that, I think, is how she ends up becoming this empire that she has now.
And you have the ability to pull the most amazing stories from people, and it all happens at The Drink. So if you want to find out more about the Drink with Kate Snow and the podcast, you can scan that QR code on the screen right now for more of Kate's conversations with Mel Robbins and beyond, and follow the podcast to get it every month. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Kate, thank you so very much. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now. Oh, that's going to be a great podcast. All right, Lisa, Asta, we'll see you in a month. I love you. I'm going to miss you. Jesse, that is a really good idea. Perfect at that. He is a perfect human specimen, and he knows all of the fact or fiction stuff, so yes, that would be amazing. I've been watching One Piece, and it's, thanks so much. Always cold in the 6. Awesome show. Max, thank you so much. Okay, guys, a month. Yeah, so we'll see you in a month. We'll see you when I come back from the Olympics, and I will miss you dearly. But it's been fun, and this stream will continue. Thank you guys so much for making it what it is.